Hey everyone, let's leverage some data for neurology performance gains. My name is Scott Everitt. I'm the Vice President of Healthcare Solutions with Practical Data Solutions. And today we want to talk a little bit about how we can take the analytic solutions that we have in place in order to really improve performance in our neurology practices. For those of you unfamiliar with Practical Data Solutions, we are an organization focused on healthcare analytics and reporting, helping our clients to become more data-driven in the area of operations, financial, and clinical analytics. So when we speak with neurology practices, a lot of times we focus on five key cornerstones, those being patient experience, operations, finance, clinical, and employees or staffing. These are areas that really drive the performance of the entire practice and areas that we really need to make sure that we have all of the data-driven insights in order to improve. Now, these particular cornerstones are pretty standard among most specialties and practices, but in order to really get a good grip in our neurology practice, we probably just can't use off-the-shelf metrics that are out there. We probably need some metrics that are unique to our practice and our specialty. So if we take a look at a typical neurology dashboard, what's probably really important to most neurology practices are just the number of patients we've got coming through the door, where we're looking at office visits, diagnostic visits. We want to see new and return patients, and understand that sort of mix that we have. And then we want to start looking at, maybe weekly volumes. We want to look at maybe lags and rates of arrivals and cancellations. Really what we want to look at as well as patient satisfaction. And you'll see that down there that patient experience is such a key indicator of being able to retain our patients, as well as making sure that we're doing a good job financially, operationally, and in a communication standpoint with how we're dealing with our patients. This is an operational view of a typical neurology practice, but we also want to have kind of a financial outlook of what we're looking at from that same standpoint, where we maybe want to look at charges, payments, and adjustments, typical billing indicators that you would see. But from a neurology standpoint, we also probably want to look at average charge lag. How quickly are we getting our charges in? Because we don't want our cash flow tied up in not being able to even send a bill out. We want to look at how well we're managing our days in AR, and again, making sure that our cash flow is optimized that way, and then getting a handle on our denials. What's being denied, and are we recovering the percentage that is being denied? We also want to look at, again, volumes. Volumes are going to be key in any practice. And as you'll notice down in the lower left, would recommend group. We're putting patient satisfaction on our financial dashboards as well to make sure that we have a key focus on that in every area, because the way that we bill and the way that we communicate with our patients on the back end is also a patient experience driver. Of course, really what's key in every practice is quality. And so when we want to look at clinical quality, one of the best ways to look at it is just utilizing MIPS metrics. Going in and seeing how well are we doing in maybe the top 10 metrics that our providers are reporting on out there. We want to see the number of patients that would be eligible, how well each individual provider is performing on these MIPS areas. And you can see maybe we highlight the providers who are below the department benchmark and see if we can work with them to get them to the level that we're reaching at as a target. We want to look at maybe screening rates. We maybe want to look at, you may have a different key performance indicator that you want to focus on in your practice. Screening rates is a very common one. And of course, upper right, patient satisfaction. Would the patients recommend the group? Patient experience. Driving patient experience operationally, clinically, financially. When we put the patients first, all three of those metrics tend to fall into place. So what we've looked at there are just kind of some static dashboards, and a lot of organizations are utilizing Excel to report. In fact, we find many organizations are doing that, but others have moved on to some of the great visualization technologies that are available out in the market, whether it's Power BI or Tableau or strategy. Understanding the data that's out there to identify the trends. We want to be able to communicate very quickly and visually so that executives and providers don't have to spend a lot of time digesting a bunch of numbers. So this is an example of some of the technology that's available through this visualization software, where we're no longer providing a static dashboard, we're able to interact with the data. And so you can see simply by highlighting certain areas, it's giving you the individual providers that fall within that realm that we've highlighted. Now, this particular dashboard is not just looking at maybe some static metrics or common metrics, but it's utilizing some predictive functionality that may be out there, where we're asking ourselves, is there an opportunity for some performance gains? And so this particular dashboard is looking at the number of patient visits that each provider has per session on average. And so you can see our top providers are somewhere in the 27 visit range. Other providers may be down in the 5 to 7 visit range. And so we ask ourselves, well, what would happen if? What would happen if we were able to move those providers that are down below the department average up to the department average level? Well, we know the average revenue collected per visit, and so we understand that if these patient providers were able to move up to that same level as the others in the department, now all of a sudden there's an average opportunity of $80,000 if we just move the top 4 up to the department average. So really understanding where our providers fall in comparison to each other, being able to benchmark, and again, being able to interact with the data is really the key. In order to get data to work like this and this visualization to work, what you really need is modeled data. And modeled data is what allows you to take a visualization like you have there with the interactability and the ability to quickly digest data, take it and understand that may drive further questions, which would require us to get into cube technology and slice and dice analytics, where you can easily add filters or departments or divisions or other dimensions in order to really dig in and understand where are there outliers and what are we doing, and adding calculations. And then, of course, getting down to the detail level when we need to get down to that level. Being able to have modeled data really allows that functionality to work. That's where PDS can help. PDS has a great deal of experience in working with neurology practices to get them to model this data to help them drive their performance excellence and get to where they need to be. If there's any questions that you may have or anything that PDS can do to help, please feel free to contact us at the numbers on the screen.